Clash Royale.
Welcome back, guys, to the SSL here. It is all tied up once again as we come back from the commercial break. It's 2-2 this time between Dark and Classic.
That is very true, and that means that it's very likely that we take these games all the way to a 7-game series. I know I would like that. It's kind of rare to find a Zerg, especially one of Dark's caliber, this high in tournaments these days. GSL kind of exterminated them, and here in SSL, we're actually fortunate enough to have one on both sides of the bracket.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to see, you know, Dark coming back once again for Season 2 and going the distance here. He's going to have to battle it out, though, to defeat his teammate here, Classic. And as we said before, really, whoever wins this match is going to be the favorite going into the finals against either Patience or Solar.
That is very, very true. And here you can see both of your players on your screens once again. But now that we've been through our first 4 maps, that means that we're going to get to a little bit of the weird stuff. Apotheosis, our set 5 game, and Central Protocol, of course, coming up a little bit later on. So we're going to start to see some of these maps that players haven't been playing on all season long. So maybe some interesting strats coming out here. And of course, Dark, very, very innovative on making a lot of new things work in a lot of new ways.
Yeah, for sure, guys. We're going to jump into game number 5 now on Apotheosis between these two teammates. Let's jump into it right now. Here we are on Apotheosis, and this may be the first time we've seen this map at the SSL. Anyway, up in the top left, in the red, the Zerg player, it is Dark.
Let's see what the fans have to say about Dark today. And of course, if you guys would like to say things about Dark, you can tweet at SPOTV_games. Let them know. So show us, Dark, that you can make it to the finals. Show us that you can win 2 championships in a row. See if you can. Down there in the blue, this is the Protoss player, Classic, teammate of Dark's. Let's go, Classic. In case you guys saw those like repeated characters, it's literally let's go.
Go. And look at this. He's going to go for a Nexus first. Something we don't see very often, but you can get away on a map this large,
that is very
long.
True.
Kind of reminds me of Vonnie Research Station just by the style of it.
Wow, that's a little bit of a throwback.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
So yeah, you can actually expand very early, and if you are very aggressive, you can take an early gold base. So depending on what your strat is, you can see that's exactly why this probe is here by Classic, because if you let a Zerg get an early gold base, it's actually can just lose you the game.
He's not even messing around with it. He, doesn't even lose a lot of shields. He's being very, very annoying with this probe. Just coming back and zapping that drone when he can. Is he going to cancel it and continue to block? No, he's just going to let it finish. Really committing to the block.
Brought my girlfriend with me again to cheer for Dark. That's my idea of a great date. In fact, if anybody out there wants...
Great date, mate.
Oh my God. Yeah, if you guys are nerds and you finally get that girl to somehow agree to go on a date with you, bring her down to the Nexon Arena. This is the place where the magic happens, guys. Currently, we're watching that magic happen for Dark and Classic, and at least it seems like Dark always able to bring himself back in these series. So does he have the magic he needs to go all the way and make it to the grand finals again? Well, that's what we are finding out here today. So another probe here for Classic, coming out to see what he can see and find out if there is any opportunities to get any additional scouting done. Does skate by those Zerglings, though.
Yeah, the split here on the Lings from Dark is unbelievable. He scouts the right side, the left side. He really wants to make sure there are no proxies that are coming down here.
Well, this is just one of the things that you can do with your extra APM early on. A lot of people criticize very high APM early game players because there's just not that much that you can do with it. Like, if you can select your workers 5 times a second, like, nobody actually cares about that. But one of the things you can do if you do have a lot of these Zerglings is just actually send them everywhere. One of the differences between games here like StarCraft 2 and games like Age of Empires is that you know what the map is, you know where everything is, so you can actually feasibly send your units out to scout very effectively early on to see what there is out there. So now Dark is totally sure that he's not missing anything crazy early on.
I love how Dark so consistently, whenever he's going into a macro game, that is, goes for Overlord speed. He's really one of these Zergs that made it very popular, and you just see everything. Especially on a map like this, like as you were saying, if you have the extra APM, you can scout the whole map and make sure there's no proxies. But then with the Overlord speed, you scout the base and you know exactly what the Protoss is doing. There is zero mystery right now for Dark. He's like, okay, I know exactly what build you're going for. Now I don't know exactly how you're going to attack me, and I don't know, is it going to be more gates coming up here? Do I need to go for a rescout? And it looks like he may do that sometime soon. But it's very, very important to get all that information.
Trying to cancel the pylon there at the gold base just to make sure that this third is as difficult to expand to as possible. But here comes the probe. He will be dropping that down. So should be looking for a fourth to come up here very, very soon for Dark. He's putting almost 600 APM to use, and he's only got 3 bases. Now we get the chance to see what the army composition is going to look like for both sides. Glaive's just now finishing up for Classic, and the Banelings out on the map for Dark.
And let's see how many gates he has. He has 4.
Dark Shrine. Up there in Classic
Good to make a Dark Shrine against Dark, I suppose.
It's very true. It's like he knows that it's already there because it's named after him.
Yeah, it's his shrine.
It'd be like if they had a Valdez Shrine.
Yeah.
And it made nothing.
Maybe in the next expansion.
It's true.
We'll see. I mean, look at this defense already. He knows this is coming. He just knows. And there's nothing that Classic can do. Like, he can't get a warp in. He didn't make all that many gateways on the back of this because he is going for that earlier third and the Dark Shrine.
No,
but at least he did force a lot of units from Dark.
He did actually force those units out. And one of the things that I was talking about earlier with that third base being dropped down by Classic is that Dark should be looking for another base of his own. You always want to be at least a base up. Maybe go for a macro hatch, but we don't really see that much anymore. But that pressure being put on there by Classic at least shows him that A, Dark only has 3 bases, and B, it makes it a little bit more difficult, a little bit scarier for Dark to get out there and get another one. He's teching up though. Lair just now completing. Let's see what the next move is for Dark. Classic with a big gateway explosion. 6 more completing.
Yeah, it's going to be 10 total. Something you could do on a map like this. It's going to make 4 DTs.
Oh, man.
And let me actually take a look. There is a Spore and a Spine at the third, but there's nothing at the natural. Nothing in the main, and there's a 4th base coming up on the right side, right near where those DTs are.
Oh, man. Didn't check to see if we had an Overseer already out.
Nope, no Overseer.
Oh, man. These Dark Templar are going to wreak havoc on that side of the map, possibly even sniping that 4th base. At worst, maybe getting into the 3rd and being able to do a lot more, but no pull here on the probe. Baneling bombs all over everything. That is going to be 11 probes that are out of there.
Oh, now, look at that! Oh,
what?
Man! At the same time, he shades through and he breaks the rocks with the DTs. And now he's all over the place. He's all over Dark. Even though he's sustained so much damage, Dark, he needs to break those rocks down.
That's insane. I've never seen that done before. Breaks the rocks, make it so difficult to defend those bases on the right-hand side of the map. There's Adepts in the main. 12 drones already going down. The rocks re-broken. But now Dark has the daunting task of both defeating these Adepts that are in his base and defending against these 4 DTs in the front.
Seems as if even if you can see the 4 DTs, they can still kill you. It doesn't really matter here. There is a couple of Overseers now, but he still hasn't cleaned up his main. He sustained a ton of damage at the natural, and there's this huge push at the front too.
And making a bunch of Archons here as well. Baneling's rolling in, actually getting some decent hits there on the Adepts, but so few of them have actually died. I don't think there's enough Zerg here for Dark to defend with.
Another huge warp in, and as you were saying, it just doesn't look like enough stuff. Another really, really nice split. I think Classic's done it with that really just sneaky maneuver.
No, and so many drones are going to be dying there in the back. 11, 12 so far. and even this hatchery under threat of going down.
There's not even anything here in the main. He could snipe some tech, perhaps, as those Adepts with Resident Glaze.
More and more warp ends. Zerg just doesn't have as much production right now. That huge gateway swell is something that Dark, time and time again, actually twice so far this series, has just underestimated and hasn't had the production that he needs to keep up with it.
This is just unbelievable. I think he's going to be able to do it. Shades on top of the units here. Dark down to 17 drones, the majority of them here at the gold base. He's not even mining. GG. Classic going to take game number 5.
Wow. I mean, if the same strategy works multiple times, it appears. Throw down a bunch of gates, make sure they're not scouted, and overwhelm your opponent with way too many Adepts to deal with.
I like how Classic came into that map. He voted it 7th. He didn't want to play on that map, but he came in with a plan, right? That was just so cool what he was doing, you know, adding in all the gates with the explosion from the gold base, but then the 4 DTs specifically to snipe the rocks as you shade through. That's unbelievable.
I didn't even,
awesome.
I was expecting, okay, well, you have to sit there and hit the rocks for a while, and then all of a sudden they just like fall over, and you're just like,
and the timing, too. It's like the Adepts just like did like a little slide underneath the rocks as they were coming down. It was like insane.
Well, if your army is underneath there, they actually do take, I think it's 500 damage from the rocks falling on top of them, so you don't want to have that happen. And Classic just played that beautifully. Cut off Dark's army from being able to defend the right half of the map and got so much work done there. And then even after Dark was able to clear up all of those Adepts, he just didn't have enough to deal with those massive warp ins at his front.
You know, I said a lot about Dark's ability to prepare for a best of 7 series, but Classic is actually proving to have prepared a little bit better, it seems. Like every map, he's got a different build, you know, just a different way of going about it. The first 2 were Stargates, the third one on Frozen Temple, he's going for an Immortal all-in. Now he's doing crazy stuff on Apotheosis. He's got just a new interesting thing coming out on every single map.
Most interesting, of course, is that he plays Protoss, so of course doing very, very well. But
Sparkling Zerg tears.
That is very true. Dark has got some